Welcome back. This topic is about multi-tenancy, which is a common term in cloud computing or in software as a service. What is multi-tenancy? Multi-tenancy is a software architecture where a single instance of software is shared by multiple end users or multiple distinct user groups. SaaS software is a typical example of multi-tenancy. Here are a few examples of SaaS software: Salesforce, Gmail, Microsoft Office 365, TurboTax, just to name a few. We also have the term single tenancy. It is the opposite of multi-tenancy. In single tenant, each end user or each group of users uses its own software instance. There are plenty of examples. Let's take the example of tax software. For example, TurboTax has its SaaS version. They also have their old classic desktop version, which you can buy and install and use as a single user or single tenant. Let's take one more example for typing software. There are many SaaS software to practice typing, but you can also purchase a single-tenant desktop version. The multi-tenancy concept is not new. In the mainframe era, which was around 1960s, that time to share mainframe computing resources among multiple users, timeshare software was used. Cloud computing now uses the same multi-tenancy idea to allow sharing of computing resources, particularly in the public cloud computing deployment model. The pool of computing resources, processing power and memory, is divided among multiple users or multi-tenants in the public cloud. This multi-tenancy is at the server level. SaaS brings multi-tenancy to the software architecture, in which software instance is shared among multiple users. An important point to note is that like multi-tenancy in mainframe, or like in public cloud computing, in SaaS also, data for each user is separated or isolated, even though the same software instance is shared. To separate data, typically, SaaS providers separate databases for each SaaS client. With respect to multi-tenancy advantages, multi-tenancy saves costs. The reason is obvious. The computing resources are consolidated and shared among multiple users or clients. This sharing helps keep costs lower for individual users in a multi-tenant environment. For example, if you are using the TurboTax SaaS version instead of TurboTax Desktop or the single-tenant version, using the SaaS version software for tax filing is much cheaper than buying the TurboTax Desktop single-tenant software. Multi-tenancy enables flexibility. As we know, doing estimation is a challenging exercise. If you over-provision, the cost will go high. If you under-provision, then your output will suffer. But in a multi-tenant environment, you only pay for what you use. And also, you would be free to manage the resources, such as applying a patch, securing, etc., as the cloud provider takes care of resource management.